Hello and thank you for tuning in again to watch one of my music theory videos. Now in my last video we looked at cadences and I played some cadences to you so you could hear how they sound. In this video we're going to be learning how to write our own cadences. So at grade 5 you will get given a tune and you need to choose what chords to harmonise that tune with, thinking about our cadences that we learnt about, and you will need to write in those chords underneath the tune using Roman numerals, which we looked at when we thought about naming chords. So here is our given melody. If I play it to you, it should be very familiar. So you should all have recognised that as Bar Bar Black Sheep. So let's have a closer look. The first thing we need to do is to decide or work out what key our music is in. So taking a look at the key signature, we have 2 sharps. Now we know that 2 sharps leaves us with 2 options. It is either D major or B minor. Well, let's have a look at the first chord. Our first chord has a D, an F sharp and an A in it. So that tells us that we're looking at a D major chord. Now it would be highly unlikely for a piece of music in B minor to start with a D major chord, so already that might be a clue as to what key our music is in. Next, we remember that in a minor key, the 7th degree of the scale, or the 7th note in the scale, is raised and sharpened. So we might be expecting to find some accidentals in a piece of music in a minor key. So let's have a look at our melody, and we can see that there are no accidentals. So we can safely conclude that this piece of music is in D major. So let's remind ourselves of the first 5 notes and the first 5 chords in a D major scale. I would do this for every cadence that you practice writing. So starting with our clef and our key signature, you could use the bass clef if that's the clef that you're more comfortable writing in. But I'm going to use the treble clef today. So the first 5 notes, as you know, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Now, let's have a reminder as to how we draw the tonic triads. Here is our tonic, it's chord 1, which we write using a Roman numeral. And to draw a triad, we skip a note, draw the next note, skip a note, and draw the next note. So we end up with D, F sharp, and A. At grade 5 we need to remember the triads for the supertonic, chord 2, the subdominant, chord 4, and the dominant, chord 5. So let's have a go at practicing drawing them now. Skip a note, draw, skip a note, draw. So our supertonic triad for chord 2 is an E, a G, and a B. Chord 3 we're not worried about at grade 5. So on to chord 4, we draw a G, skipping A, drawing B, skipping C sharp and drawing D. And for chord 5, the dominant, in D major, we have A, skip the note B to draw our C sharp, skip D to draw our E. So those are our triads that we're going to be using to harmonise our notes in the melody and writing our own cadences. So our first cadence is in bar 3 and bar 4, which are noted by the little numbers underneath. So it's requiring us to write 5 chords to form 2 cadences. Here is cadence 1 and here is cadence 2. So looking at our melody notes, we have a B, a C sharp, a D, and another B. Now, down here we cannot find a chord that has a B, a C sharp and a D in it. So we might want to have a think about which one of those melody notes might be a passing note or a non-harmony note that we're not going to worry about harmonizing. Well, we can see that the music passes between a B and a D using the passing note of a C sharp. So that's the note we're not going to think about when choosing a chord to harmonize that bar with. We're just going to think about the B and the D. Now, maybe you'd like to have a pause of this video and see if you can work out which chord we're going to use. Which chord out of these four has both a B and a D in it? That's right, well done. Chord 4 has a B and a D. So we are going to be using chord 4, G major, to harmonise. Now, the next bar has an A. So have a think about all the different chords that you could use. You could use chord 1, that has an A in it. Or you could use chord 5, that also has an A in it. Now here we might want to think about stylistically which cadence we might want to use. The cadence comes in the middle of our musical phrase. So if we were writing, we might use a comma here instead of a full stop. Can you remember which cadence sounded a bit like a comma? That's right, the imperfect cadence, which would go from chord 4 to chord 5. So that's the chord I would choose here, chord 5. In order for our tune to sound like it's going to carry on, let our listener know that something more is coming. Let's have a go at playing it and see how it sounds. And you can hear that it sounds like the melody is going to carry on, which is exactly what it does. And you could also hear that the C sharp didn't sound unpleasant against our G major chord because it was simply a passing note, passing between the B and the D. So finally, at the end, we need to choose 3 chords to round off our musical phrase. Now I would start from the back and work this way for a 3-chord cadence. So we know that at the end we have a D. Which chord has a D in it? That's right, the tonic, chord 1, and chord 4. Now we know that since the musical phrase is coming to end, it's unlikely to be chord 4. It's going to be chord 1 to make the music sound like it's come to a close, to put a full stop at the end of our musical phrase or sentence. So let's put in a 1 here. Now, that leaves us with 2 options. We could either use a plagal cadence, chord 4 to chord 1, or we can use a perfect cadence, chord 5 to chord 1. Let's have a look at which note is in the melody. We have an E in the melody. Which of these chords have an E in them? That's right, it's chord 5. So we are going to write a chord 5 using Roman numerals. Now here you can choose which chord you want to put. Will you use chord 1, chord 2, chord 4 or chord 5? You can choose between chord 1 because that has an F sharp in it. But there are no other chords here that have an F sharp, so it has to be chord 1. The other way of writing this would be to write the names of the chords. So you could write here G major, shown by a capital G, followed by A major, a capital A. Chord 1 is D, chord 5 is A, and the last chord is chord 1, which is a D. So let's play that whole thing through and hear how it sounds. Lovely stuff. Well done. Thank you for watching and happy practicing at home.